Sounds good. And 3, 2, 1. And we're here with Erin McCauley. Say hi. Talking to the mic. Just give a quick hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, so Erin is the founder of an organization called Mamas4Mamas. They're a community-based organization that provides support for maternal health. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we started Mamas4Mamas back in 2014 when my first daughter was about 3 months old. And we support community-based organizations around the world with maternal and infant health initiatives.
Nice. Love it. Oh, a little precursor here. Erin is... part of our family. I guess. Erin is a family member. She is my uncle's wife. I guess technically our auntie.
It's so weird to think about.
How much older than
I'm like 2 years older than you.
2 years
yeah.
older. Yeah. No, weird. Hey, auntie.
Auntie Erin.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the journey. I know that you are, it's weird. Like since I've known you, and we had an episode the other weekend with Ariel, who was a young mother, and she was talking about how when you are a mother, you lose self-identity a bit. But since I've known you, I know that your passion has been mothering, and I know that that's something that you've wanted to be a mother since you were little. That's just something that's been really important to you. So you are kind of a lucky one who hasn't really lost passion or identity. You just kind of immersed yourself into being a mother, and then started Mamas4Mamas. Tell us the journey.
Well, it's funny you say that because one of the biggest reasons I started Mamas4Mamas was because of that sense of loss of identity,
cool.
Becoming a mother. Because for me, when I was in university, I was really passionate about international development. And I knew for sure that's something that I wanted to do when I graduated. And I did that a little bit. And then I was kind of afraid that once I started having kids, that I wouldn't be able to continue working in that field anymore.
Yeah.
And especially when you work for other organizations, you usually have to travel for like 6 months to years at a time.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest reasons I started it was because I wanted to continue that work and not just give it up because I was a mother.
For sure. Did that begin in uni? So what'd you take? What's your background in education? Human geography?
Yeah, human geography and psychology.
Cool. Is that how you got into
Yeah. Like learning about it in university, some of my professors did work on it, and then they would kind of come back and talk to us about different experiences they had. And then I had some friends who were working in the field and learned about it from them. And
nice. That's awesome.
So when was the first time you traveled abroad for it? Is that how it started? Like with
you went to Mozambique, right?
Yeah.
You killed it.
Yeah, I did kind of like some independent travel, not through a funding agency, but the first time I did an actual job abroad was through the Canadian International Development Agency in 2010.
Jesus, was
or
that
so.
long ago? Crazy.
Yeah, in Mozambique. Yeah.
How long you and Andy? When did you and Andy?
2010. So
holy shit. Yeah. Oh wait,
yeah. Didn't you leave for like 6 months right away?
That was right away.
Was it 6 months?
That's kind of like what brings it all together is because, I met him and I kind of told him right off the bat that it was very important to me that I be with someone that supported this.
Of course.
And he said he did, but, he said it in a way that I could tell he was being genuine, that he did support me in doing that. And he helped me write my application for the job. And Tito helped me write my application for the job. So
Tito's our other uncle for those that are listening.
Yeah, he actually listens to this podcast. He'll listen to this episode. He's actually probably really pumped that we have women coming on now because we got a little backlash from him because we didn't have enough women, or we just had straight white men, he would say. And you know him. He's awesome though. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. So it was amazing being part of a family that supported me as a woman, just got married to go off and do this, So I love being part of a family that doesn't say, women should stay home once you get married.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dumb it down a little bit, and why don't you walk me through what you did in Mozambique? Just in a practical level.
Okay, so I guess kind of backing up a little bit, we got married. I was 23 when we got engaged and 24 when we got married. And
that's fucking crazy. Jesus.
And I stopped taking birth control after we got married, and I didn't get pregnant right away. but then I also was applying for this job around the same time. And it was, I mean, I want to say a blessing in disguise that I didn't get pregnant right away, because it allowed me to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I went to like a village in Mozambique. It was called Kaya, was the name of the village. And my official title was Family Assistance Project Coordinator or Program Coordinator. So my role was to support the community in coming up with sustainable employment or sustained income generation. And, you know, some other stuff too. And it was just really amazing being part of the community. The community didn't have, like where I lived, didn't have running water.
And you just lived that way?
I loved it. That's why, like, Andy doesn't want to travel with me.
Yeah, that's why. That's your thing.
Like, what did you love about it? Just the simplicity of it?
Not showering?
Yeah, like I mean,
smelling like shit all the time.
I love
stinky armpits.
I love rural. I mean, I wouldn't want to move to a city and like work internationally, like in a city, because I mean, I don't think it matters what country in the world you're in. If you're in a city, I mean, that's kind of, they're all very similar.
Yeah,
so I loved, being part of the community, and the people were so friendly and nice, and I learned a lot, and
yeah,
that's
for sure.
Freaking
That's
awesome.
sweet.
So you take us through a day in Mozambique. So you told us about, so it was an employment initiative
that was like the main thing. Yeah. So
it was like to come up with like ways of generating income
generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'd wake up and I'd go down to the project site. And so, but the project had, you know, kids who would come, and they had like food distribution and like programs and a little school and, you know, different things going on at the project site. So I would go and kind of help out with that. The food distribution, I think we did it once a month. I can't even really remember now, but that was fun. And they had like different events going on, like for World AIDS Day, it was like a big event and stuff like that. So I'd go and help out with the project, help out with the kids. They'd play soccer and kind of help out with
That's awesome.
So you're like staying in like a village or something, like a small.
So I had
village?
my house, and then I would kind of walk down to work, which would be like the project site.
Yeah. What was your house like?
Well, I had a nicer house, but it was it had like a tin roof, and it rained a lot there.
Okay.
So when it would rain, it would be super loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy. And Mamas4Mamas was it a thought in your mind then, or was it was that kind of was Mozambique an inspiration for that maybe?
Yeah, I think at that time I thought that I would continue working for other organizations. I loved the idea of, you know, finding projects that you could apply for, and even to this day, I look up projects all the time and just imagine, wouldn't it be amazing if I could apply and work here? Yeah. But again,
when you say like a project, like. What is that? Where do you look at projects?
There could be projects with there's lots of different like government agencies through Global Affairs Canada that they hire people for like 9 months terms, and you go and you do this project, whatever that may be, and
they're all like terms, like 6, 9, 12.
Or you could work for like 2-year terms, or you know, kind of, they all vary in length. But I think that was the dream at the time, and then when I got back to Canada, even before I started a family, I kind of started to realize you can't really take off for 6 months or 9 months, whatever, all the time. Like,
for sure.
My husband was amazing that he let me do it, but I mean, or supported me to do it. But I mean, you can't really do that all the time.
It's crazy to think that people wouldn't like be supportive of their spouse doing that, you know, going away, and I know that it's hard. I know it's difficult when you have kids and stuff, but if your significant other is doing this amazing thing, or how do you not support that? But it's definitely a thing.
Oh,
it is a thing, man. People don't like their significant other to even leave the city,
especially with the family though. It's definitely a different thing because you share that job.
So, for sure, with the family, it's even harder.
Yeah, and now you have 3 lovely kids. Actually, when you smiled when the podcast first came on, and I asked you to say hello, your face of like shyness was Nina. It was Nina. I was just like, holy shit, that's
We're
crazy.
Twins.
You guys are 100% twins. Maxie's gonna be there too.
Yeah.
He looks like you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 3 kids now. So it must be a task. I mean, even getting time to even think about Mamas4Mamas now.
Yeah.
Like you probably don't have time for much, right? I mean,
No.
Right, mom life.
Is it just you, or do you have like help?
Yeah, I have a
Other
team.
girls?
Yeah, I have a team of people that help out. But I'm the driving force behind if we're gonna start like a fundraising initiative.
Right.
Yeah. And we've played the fundraisers that
Yeah.
you've done
Benefits,
before.
yeah.
And
Big supporters, and Sons.
yeah, absolutely. Do you have any events like, or are you kind of just chilling right now?
I'm chilling right now because, it's very difficult to sell tickets. So the main way that we raise money is through benefit concerts.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sell tickets.
For sure.
I need a break from trying to sell tickets for events.
Yeah, and you need to like plan that way in advance too, especially a big benefit concert.
Yeah. We did have actually recently though. My girlfriend has a business, Rogue Jewelry, and she had a promotion going on for a few days where she donated 50% of her profits to Mamas4Mamas.
No way.
Yeah, so we raised $450, and then shortly thereafter it was a big flood in my village where I used to
Holy
live.
shit, yeah.
So we sent the money to them.
Oh,
Cool.
Yeah,
amazing.
so
That's
that
really
was kind of
awesome.
a nice
That's so
full
sick.
circle.
That's awesome. That's super cool that you have that support. Regina's kind of good that way.
Oh yeah,
Regina's awesome that way.
amazing that way.
Do you still have like connections with the people from the village?
Yeah, I actually was speaking on the phone with the lady who.
So they have a phone, like they.
Oh well, she lives in BC.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
I
but
see,
they
I
have
see.
cell phones. Some of them.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Crazy.
some of the people that.
But no
I
running
met.
water.
I'm sure some people do.
Yeah.
Not that. I mean, and I'm
So
sure
how-
that was a while ago. I'm sure it's different
So
now.
how do you take
Yeah,
a shower?
for
You
sure.
just in a pan?
The cup.
A cup. Holy
cup.
The
shit.
cup shower.
That's
And what,
badass.
the
You
water's-
like that, hey?
The water
That's
comes
so
from like a well, or
No, my maid used to bring it. In the jerry cans.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Crazy. That's cool.
Jesus.
I'm when I travel, I like to be taken care of a bit. I'm a little bit of a wussy. I like glamping.
Yeah.
I like a plug in there, heat up the tea kettle. I'm very high maintenance.
Yeah.
And I don't think Frank's like that at all. He could
No,
probably
I'm
bush it.
definitely-
So you can
that
just-
sounds cool. It sounds
Yeah,
like
it's
it'd be
amazing.
really,
You could
really
just
sweet.
shower with
So,
a cup
but I
for
was
7
speaking
months.
with I
Wow.
was speaking with the lady who kind of hired me originally, and they just started, or I guess a couple of years ago, started a maternal health initiative in that village.
Cool.
So I asked her if I could come and help out, and she said I could. So I'm kind of hoping that I
Thinking?
can go back. Yeah, well, we'll see, because it's like the plane tickets are super expensive. Just like
You don't get
vacation
funding
time
and stuff
from
for that?
work.
Like they don't.
Man, it'd be amazing to take your kids there. Imagine if you could do that. Like live with Nina and
That was
just
know.
like a
be,
village.
like so eye opening for her too.
know.
Like
Yeah.
she'd
Never
probably
stop
come back
daydreaming.
and just be like, "Oh my
know.
god."
That stuff's amazing. Would be amazing to teach your kids young.
Yeah.
Though. Like just to
I
let them
agree.
see the world that is beyond the first world, technologically advanced world that we live in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Any kind of travel, I think, for kids.
yeah, oh yeah, any traveling. It's so amazing to be cultured. I mean, I think you can be cultured without traveling too. You learn about other cultures and stuff like that, but it definitely helps. I know you talked a little bit about when you were in Mozambique, and Mamas4Mamas was kind of in the back of your mind. But you know what? I want to know like when you decided that I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do something with maternal health. I want to know the journey that led you to really doing that. So now you have 3 kids, but I know that it wasn't an easy journey. As you said, you obviously couldn't have kids at first. You tried a lot of sex. So
I have to tell you, yeah, we went to a party. Like it was like a house party, and Andy said to Nader's brother, Ryan Butzler's brother, like, geez, my wife and I have been trying for 6 or 7 months and we haven't had success yet. And he was the one who was like, yeah, that's not normal, man. You guys should like kind of look into that. And it was like the first moment we
at
were
a
like,
house party.
yeah. We were like,
Wow, that's great.
Nader's
Maybe we
brother of
should.
all.
Nader's
You know what? When you said house party, I thought that story was going somewhere else.
Yeah.
That you were gonna go in the
I thought you were
bathroom
gonna
and
say you guys would bang.
or something like that. Totally.
it's time. We gotta go
Yeah.
try. No, that was the first time we were like, God, maybe we should look into it or whatever.
That's
But-
like the first time you even clued in. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are just thinking at the time, maybe I'm stressed at work, or
you
like
just
all
kind
the
of make
other.
excuses. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
and like when you're trying to make a baby, do you have to do it like when you're ovulating too? So there's like
Yeah.
there's times where you have to be like, okay, we're fucking.
Yeah. So I don't know, like I've always been really in tune with my body. So even before I was even trying, I always knew when I was ovulating. So I just kind of assumed that it would happen really quickly. But you never tried to have a baby before.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
then
for
when
sure.
it didn't happen right away, you're just kind of like, well, I don't know. Like you don't even really think about it that much. I didn't really think about it that much the first few months. And then time went on and then I got the job. So then I kind of was like, well, that was kind of good that I didn't get pregnant right away.
sure.
And then
That's crazy.
I got back, and then you start thinking maybe I got like a parasite or something when I was away. Like you just don't know. Like so many things go
There's
through your
literally
mind.
so
like,
many factors.
Yeah.
And like I've known you for, I guess, 2010, so
9 years.
2009.
9 years already, which is crazy. But
10 years.
honestly, when I just remember how crazy hard that was for
Yeah.
you when you couldn't have kids. Like I never had saw you so down. You know, it was a tough.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I
Well,
must
I
have
don't
not
think
been
you were
here.
here.
I don't think I was here.
Yeah. You had probably just left to Chile, but I know it was difficult for you. Explain a little bit about that.
So I think like one of the things that was difficult for me during that time is I really felt like my life was in limbo. So
Yeah.
you try to have a baby, you know, when you're ovulating, and then you got to wait and see if you get your period. And so during that 2-week time, you're just really hopeful. And then you start thinking like, oh my God, did I feel a twinge? Like for sure I'm pregnant, or like, you know, and then you kind of psych yourself up or down, and then you're not. And so, but you're like really just in a constant state of like holding your breath.
For sure.
And then you think
That would be so stressful.
you
Holy
think that I'm
fuck.
going to take this vitamin, or I'm going to do this, and then that's going to work, and I'm going to get pregnant, and then I'll just kind of move on. Like for me, it was more so the fact that that it felt like I was in limbo all the time. And so kind of even just to back it up a little bit. So when we found out that we couldn't have kids the old fashioned way, I looked to Andy and I was like, well, we can just adopt. And we were so naive to even say the word just. And
Yeah,
he
for
was
sure.
like down. He was like, yeah, let's do it,
100%,
you know?
yeah.
So our first thing before we even tried fertility treatment was to adopt. And
Yeah.
I think part of the reason I was, well, you know, there's lots of reasons I was drawn to it. And I kind of always envisioned that I would adopt. But also because like when you're in the process of adopting, you're kind of always taking one step forward.
Yep.
So you are filing more paperwork, and you're, you know, there's always like the next thing that you can do. And I was happier during that time because I was excited.
Yeah,
I
it
felt
was
like
a
at the end
process.
of it, I was going to be a mom.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did the home study, and we did like psychology visits. We did the MMRI.
I remember that.
Yeah.
At the old
whatever.
house.
Is that what it's called? MMRI? MMPI?
I remember
test,
that though.
yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
you were like waiting for people to come
Yeah.
interview you and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, wow.
And then every country that we tried to adopt from closed.
Oh, wow.
So we tried to adopt from DRC and Kenya and Colombia. I think those were the three that we, and then we talked about maybe the States, and then we just said, you know, like maybe we should look into doing fertility treatment because it just felt like adoption wasn't working out for us.
Was it more money than you thought too?
Well,
adoption is adoption expensive? Like I don't know too much about it, so
Yeah, so we first looked into adopting from Canada. So the number one thing from Canada is that you have to adopt from your province. So it's not like we could adopt from Nova
weird.
Scotia
holy shit.
or
Yeah.
anything. So then we were like, okay, we'll adopt from Saskatchewan. But then we heard that the wait list could be like 7 years
Wow.
or something for like a child under
It's a
2.
long-
And, you know, there's so
long
many
time to wait.
things. Yeah.
That's crazy. So I guess in Saskatchewan, what demographic are you adopting? Indigenous?
Yeah, we were open to
Generally,
anything.
you were open to anything?
Yeah,
so-
but we were hoping for like a younger. But the
sure.
problem is that I think most people
yeah.
are hoping
Like a
for
baby.
a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we looked into international adoption because that's actually easier than interprovincial adoption from my understanding. So we looked into Colombia and, like I said, a few different countries, and we just kind of started. We were going to do the paperwork ourselves for
Yep.
Colombia. So that was going to diminish the cost a little bit. And then, you know, Kenya was cool because you had to live there for 9 months. So we liked that idea. But yeah,
that would have been
different.
awesome.
So do you like get to like hand pick your baby, or is it like a paper process and then you're just
Yeah.
given a baby at the end?
Yeah, you're given a referral, and then it comes with some information, and then you can accept or not.
But you don't get like a picture to see if the
You get a
baby's
picture.
ugly? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good, they're
Because
not handing you the ugliest baby in
Yeah.
the village.
I think, you know, you're so desperate. Every baby looks like.
the poor ugly babies. They just,
Oh man, I see so many ugly babies on social media. I feel bad. Jesus, hopefully they're gonna look good when they. No, I mean it's fine. Whatever. All babies are ugly. But anyways, that's no, No, that's a pretty amazing process. I mean, you going down in the dumps and then adoption, you know, helping you feel better. But I think you still kind of felt like shit after the adoption thing didn't work out.
Yeah, so then we said, okay, let's try infertility treatment. So then we got referrals to Calgary and Regina, and Regina had a really long wait list because the lady was on mat leave at the time.
Wow.
Or one of the doctors. So I don't remember exactly what happened, but we ended up going to Mexico to do our treatment there, and so we went to Mexico to do IVF, and I think we were there for like 2 weeks, and then it didn't work. So we came back to Canada. And then I had a blog at the time, an infertility blog.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
What was it called again?
Gypsy Mama.
Oh, yes. That's where it came from. I love it.
And so that was a really amazing, and it was really great connecting with different people who were going through the same thing. And I'm still in touch with a lot of them now.
That's
on
great.
FB. And so went back a second time to Mexico to try again. And this time I stayed 3 weeks. So my husband stayed for the first 2 weeks, and I stayed a week later because I thought maybe if I relaxed longer it would work. And then that also didn't work. And then I just that's when I started really feeling like, oh my God, this is never going to work. And, you know, I believe that I could have been happy if I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the type of person that felt like I have to have kids or my life is over.
So you thought like,
yeah.
So did that thought cross your mind? It was like, I don't think there's a possibility I will never be a mom.
Yeah.
That didn't bum you out?
Well, of course it did, but I didn't feel that like
it was going to control
motherhood was like the only path to happiness.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the waiting and the constant, like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And it just like was like a fixation for me. And I was reaching that point where I was like, you know, like if this isn't gonna work, like I can't spend more years of my life like kind of trying or whatever. And then we went to Saskatoon for some treatment there, and then finally it worked.
Wow, amazing. And then
what was that feeling like?
It was shocking. I like really feel that I have the same feeling that other women have when they get pregnant when they're not expecting it. Like I think that when I got pregnant, I was just as shocked. And I've never had a positive pregnancy test, because every time I did a pregnancy test when I was trying, it was always negative, and then I just hated them. So when I actually got pregnant, I was just like, I'm just gonna wait it out. And so I just waited it out and all 3 times.
Can you tell your body like right away? You're like, I'm for sure pregnant.
I can, yeah.
Do you have like now you have 3 beautiful children. When you first found out, it must have been a feeling of relief a little bit, and a feeling of like
excitement, relief.
Was it have you miscarried before? Is that a touchy subject?
Oh no, well for me it's not. I had a chemical pregnancy, is what they're called, where you are pregnant but for such a short period of time that it wouldn't be considered
miscarriage.
A miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called a chemical. So it's basically like you're pregnant enough to turn the pregnancy test positive, but then you kind of shortly thereafter.
So the sperm is just swimming in the egg. And
well, yeah. So you're kind of like, the sperm and the egg have met, and you're actually pregnant, but only for like, I don't know, a week or so.
I always think about like the sperm that wins.
I know.
Imagine that
it's
battle.
Just such a.
Imagine the battles. Think about it. There's
lottery.
Like millions of motherfuckers just like, I'm getting there first. And then boom, one gets in there.
I know.
That's just crazy to think about. Wow.
Sometimes it's the wrong one too.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like, how the fuck were you the excellent swimmer?
Sorry, Mom. No, that's super cool. So it was like a chemical thing, and it's not a miscarriage, but you know it was there.
That's the term, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the next one worked. Yeah.
So for Nina, I think we tried 3 times. For Maisie, we tried 3 times, and Max was the first try.
Wow. Oh, shit.
He was in there.
Good old Maxie, hey? He's a happy one. That's why you got the happy one. Hey?
And each try costs money every time?
Yes. Yeah.
And there's no guarantee.
No.
Wow.
We spent
that is
thousands of dollars
crazy.
on adoption
before
we even meant to.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I have friends who right now are having fertility problems. I have a lot actually. It's so
very,
common.
very common.
It's super common. So like I have a group of just a bunch of friends, and then I have a couple groups, and it's when they talk about it, it's just like, we've been trying, but it's so common.
I know.
And not only that, miscarriages are common. So like, I mean, there's a girl that I work with that I've been talking to a lot who is having problems holding and carrying.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just crazy how common it is and how much money you have to pay. And is there coverage?
I think some provinces have coverage. I think Quebec has coverage and Manitoba.
Wow. And Saskatchewan doesn't?
No.
Wow, crazy. And Saskatchewan's been pretty like somewhat progressive with coverages of certain health things.
Yeah,
but just
I don't know a lot about.
So how much do you pay for one turkey based?
So for Mexico, I
For
think
one
we
load.
paid $9,000. I think
Per
we
load?
paid. No. This is back in Mexico for
No,
IVF.
that's not per load. That's per one sperm that they isolate and shoot it. No,
That's
that-
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I mean,
No.
I've done.
yeah, that's
the
in vitro,
whole-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
done
totally.
in vitro. So in Mexico, I think it was $9,000, but that's a lot cheaper. Like I think in Canada, I think it's more than $20,000.
Yeah, for sure. It's expensive. It's
But
so
then
expensive.
Shut up.
when we were talking about adopting from the States is like the number one place that you could get an infant.
Okay, yeah.
And that's kind of what was recommended
That's
to
crazy.
us. Yeah. And it was 50,000.
So a first world country,
$50,000.
a first world country is the most.
Because the mothers are placing the children.
Oh, yep, totally.
Yeah.
So like a lot of teen moms maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably. I think that's got to be a thing.
So you make a book. I made a book. And then, it has photos of yourself and like your story and everything. And then they present the book to the mothers who can choose the families.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the States is better for babies.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But that was, So comparing the cost of infertility treatment to adoption, it was actually cheaper.
How much have you spent thus far?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just-
sure my husband would know.
He'll know. He's
got a
got an Excel
spreadsheet.
spreadsheet. Jesus. He's gonna.
So what can you like explain all the different treatments for infertility that you can do? Like what your options are?
Oh yeah, there's so I mean, because it also depends on your issue. So some people even have unexplained infertility. Yeah. So when they do all the tests,
I would think infertility is just
you would think
it's one thing.
Yeah. So like so some people have unexplained, so they can't even tell them why. So I don't so there's that, and then of course there's male factor infertility, female factor infertility. Some people have a combination. But like I said, like I've still remained friends with a lot of the blogging people that I met through that time. So I have friends who have done, so they have had, so straight IVF, which is where you take the egg from the woman or the mom and the sperm from the man.
One egg, one sperm.
And you can put them in a petri dish.
Yeah.
And then, in that case, the sperm still swims into the egg naturally.
Yeah. That's gonna cost money.
Is it cheaper if you do it yourself?
Does the sperm? Are you sure? They needle?
No,
the egg?
so that's the next step up.
Okay,
That's
cool.
called ICSI.
So actually, they just put a sperm.
So
in
they
a little petri
actually
dish?
isolate. They'll look at the sperm under the microscope and they'll isolate the one that looks most healthy, I guess.
Oh my God.
And insert. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
And then so those are two different types of IVF. And then you can keep the eggs in the petri dish for the whatever for 3 days or 5 days. So the 5-day ones are called blastocytes, and the 3-day ones, I forget what they're called now.
Blasts. But what's the difference? Like why?
Like, because if they live longer, and I guess they're more likely to be successful when they transfer them. So
like when they put them in you.
Yeah. So the first time I did IVF, they transferred 4 3-day.
Holy.
Okay, wait. So they transferred 4
3-day fertilized eggs.
Wow.
So what happens if all of them?
I know it was very irresponsible. They wouldn't do that in Canada, but I was in Mexico, and
they're
the
just like,
doctor
"Oh, don't worry."
didn't even tell me. I was like on the table, and I'm like, "How many are you gonna put in?" And he's like, "I'm gonna do 4." And I'm like,
Cuatro.
"All right." I know.
It's like, okay.
And I was like so desperate at the time, but they were very low quality, and I think he probably knew that maybe they weren't gonna work. So that didn't. The NNA didn't work.
Fuck, imagine though if it all worked.
Oh my god. So then
Wouldn't that be insane?
and then sometimes they split. So then I have a friend who transferred one and it split to identical twins.
Wow.
So, and then I did 2 5-day ones. The second time I went back.
And it's split?
Yeah.
So
one sperm?
No, one fertilized egg.
So split twins?
Like one
Is that like a
embryo.
thing?
Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. And split. So then she had 2. So they were identical twin boys. And so then I transferred 2 5-day ones that were looking really good. And then they didn't work either. So I have some friends that have done egg donation. So then they use like a donor egg with the husband's sperm, and I have some friends who've done the opposite, so the mom's egg and donor sperm, and I have some friends who've done embryo adoption. So
which is
they have
someone else's egg.
Yeah, so like say I did it, and then I have leftover embryos, and
you can just give them to someone else. Can you make money doing that?
No, I don't think so.
Can I make money donating my sperm?
Not in Canada, but I think they do in the States. But I think in Canada, even like if I were to donate my eggs. So people just do it here out of
the goodness of their hearts?
Yeah. Nope. Like if I were to donate
Nobody
my
wants
eggs,
your sperm,
yeah.
Do they get like incentives on the like actual process of donating the sperm? Like, well, like I don't know, like fleshlights or I don't know.
You must get like something.
Are you talking about like porn when you?
No, yeah. Well, so like when you gotta go.
Yeah.
When Andy had to go
beat off
so
the load.
Awkward,
no, but did Andy so he just had to go beat off and just mass
like it's time for you to get
and
your sample.
I bet they have like fucking magazines like it's 1996 or something.
I think he said there was some videos and
oh my god, so they have
they have vids.
I think he said he brought his own choice.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to think about. You just gotta
I know.
Just gotta
and it's also crazy to think like how
it.
many people are going through this. Like
sure,
people that we know that like
just gross.
It's
jerk
so
off
common.
Rooms all over the world.
So did you ever think about pursuing like other forms, like very like crazy forms of like fertility, or was it just you knew that one would work and you were?
I was willing to try whatever.
So like, okay, you were going through them earlier. What other options would you have had one of those ones not worked?
I think for me, probably the next step would have been embryo adoption.
Wow.
Is that like surrogacy kind of?
So surrogacy.
That's when someone else carries.
Carries for you.
And I think, because there's also 2 words for that. There's like surrogacy and then there's gestational carrier. So I think surrogacy is when it's your egg.
Yeah.
In someone else?
I think.
Wow,
and gestational carrier is when...
it happens, man. And families love you for that. Like I think in Canada they can't give you gifts.
No, yeah.
Or they can't give you money, but they can give you gifts. So
they can cover your expenses.
They can cover your expenses. Yeah. Car, houses, I've heard have been bought for people who are surrogate mothers. So yeah, no, sorry to interrupt, but that's just crazy.
I know, and it's a whole world of like people going through.
Sorry, we were talking about Aladdin earlier.
So like, for some reason, I've always just felt like I'm infertile. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. How would I go get that checked, and is it free?
Yes. So when you go to your doctor, we went to our doctor and we said we thought we were having trouble having a baby. Mm-hmm. And then I did a whole bunch of blood tests. So I guess I got off easy that time. And then...
Did you find anything you didn't want to find in the blood tests? That's what I'm always scared of.
I know, because you got to do the AIDS test. And I'm like, God, what if I
picked up AIDS?
I'm like, I just want to tell you that I was working with HIV AIDS. And there was this time that this guy... fell off his motorcycle and he had like blood everywhere, and I went over to help him and I didn't know, and he took his helmet off and he just spit blood like on me. Well, and I mean, like, you can't get but then I'm like, what if I had a cut and I didn't know? And it was kind of like always in the back of my mind.
You know, I've looked into that cut thing too, and that's even super fucking hard to get it, even if the person is like full of it. You know, it's hard. It's generally the easiest to do when 2 people are you know, swing, bada bing. But that's crazy. I have a quick question, just to kind of change the subject a bit. Now that you've went through all this fertility stuff, and now that you have 3 kids and it was such a difficult process to you, how do you feel about abortion?
Schmishmortion.
Well, I'm obviously very super pro-choice.
Pro-choice, yeah.
And one thing when I was going through it that used to make me so mad is when people would use people that had infertility as a say that
reason to say.
Yeah, a reason to say that people shouldn't have abortions. I mean, they'd say,
stupid.
look, there's people out there that want to have kids and they can't, and you're having, and I used to, that make me so like, don't put me in this. Like, I don't
it's
like,
so dumb.
yeah,
That's
but that's like a
just
thing that
silly.
people say, and it used to drive me crazy. Like, yeah, anti-choice people would say.
Have you ever struggled with that though? I mean, I know you're super pro-choice,
No.
but never been a struggle.
Never.
Even when you couldn't have kids,
Never,
it was
never.
like it wasn't a thing.
Never,
Cool.
never a thing.
That's
And
awesome.
you know, like
But you know what? That's hard to stay that way too, because I mean,
I don't know if it
it's-
is. I
Is it?
honestly, I don't
Well,
think
yeah,
so. Like
because-
even my friends that I know that were going through the same thing as me, I don't think anybody would ever say.
So
that-
you wouldn't become like super subjective and be like, fuck, like I can't believe how people
No.
abort kids or abort
never felt that
embryos.
way.
Cool. Oh, that's good to
And
know. That's
I
awesome.
even had a
knowing
friend
it.
who confided in me that she wanted to when I was going through it, and it never crossed my mind.
That's
I was like,
awesome.
is she telling me that it crossed my mind? Is she telling me that she wants me to adopt her baby? It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
when she was like kind of being unclear at first.
Yeah.
And then when she said, I was like, no, never. And like, you know, when people do those protest things in front of hospitals,
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, like
Oh my
even at the
God.
lowest of my low when I was trying to have a baby, that would still make me
Disgusting,
so,
too.
yeah.
Oh man, they used to do that.
That's
at my old
really awesome.
school. They would just
is-
have like giant
It's
billboards
wrong.
of like dead fetuses, and it's like
How?
it doesn't make your point any more valid.
know.
Like
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's like
Because to me, they're like two different,
Can't even
completely
make it.
separate things. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to have I'm trying to become a mother is actually what I always used to say, because I didn't
Yeah.
care if it was through adoption
Right.
or what. But like, I didn't feel that like that had anything to do with like another woman's choice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Nina must your first one must have like a little bit of a special place, hey? It's because
Yeah.
it was such a journey, obviously, to get there. And I know Andy has written songs about
Mm-hmm.
Nina and written songs about the journey and the process of like being in Mexico and
Mm-hmm.
the beach and infertility and all of that. So Nina must hold a pretty special place to you guys. hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like two things. I think that when I got pregnant, a lot of people would say to me like, "Oh, now you get to experience the joy of pregnancy and you don't have to adopt." Like, but I wouldn't like that. Like I felt like people were saying that adoption was like my second choice, and that like now you get to be pregnant, which is
Oh,
much
yeah.
better. And I
Yeah.
truly never felt that way. Like I truly wanted to adopt, and I still would if I could. But
I think you also have a very open mind about fertility, whereas I think that might ring true with some other
Yeah,
people, you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, thank God we don't have to adopt, you know, we can do it. Whereas you, mothering is not.
I've always kind of
not
wondered.
blood.
I've always wondered that about the actual process, especially with adoption. If like parents, I guess, have, I don't know how
like
to
mothering doesn't have
say
to be
it.
blood, you know, like is
That's
that-
the,
is that
yeah,
what you're getting at?
I'm trying to like say it in a nice way
How-
without
how-
sounding
you-
like
you
a
mean-
fucking douche.
You mean how a mom can love someone
who
else's
isn't
kid?
who
Well, that's
isn't
fine.
theirs.
That's fine to say. Like
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you said it better. I was gonna say.
Oh, you're gonna.
I was gonna fucking say something dumb.
Oh, go for it. But I think, you know what, for me, I mean, I'm not a father. Of course, I want to be one day. But if I had to adopt, I mean, there's always like that thing. Maybe you'd think about it in the back of your mind, like, oh, this isn't. But I think it's just when you raise something,
oh yeah,
you have this crazy bond
Yeah.
where the blood doesn't even really matter. Sure,
No.
they might not have your mannerisms or whatever, but like you're just raising this thing. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You are so fathering and mothering isn't about blood. It's about raising a child and bringing them into this world, giving
Absolutely.
them values, giving them everything.
yeah. I think what it boils down to too is like ultimately this person's part of your family.
Yeah,
And you just love your family no matter what, right?
Right.
for sure.
And then the other thing is too, like there's no guarantees, because people will say like, oh, if I adopt and like what if X, Y, and Z, but there's no guarantees when you have a baby that like your baby's going to turn out to be this baby that you're imagining in your
Yeah.
head
For sure.
either. So like,
Yeah. Good
For
point.
sure. Yeah, I wonder what that's like if you adopt like a kid and he just turns out to be an absolute fucking terrorizer mess. But like, I just don't think you at that point, they're just your family. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, hey, you.
That's how I feel about my newest dog.
Yeah.
But when I had Nina, like that moment when she came out and they put her on my chest, like I remember I was like crying to the nurse, like we tried for so long. So like that moment was like extra special to us. But now like, but now I don't know, like, but the journey, like the infertility journey, I feel like it still affects me now.
Okay.
But
Like,
yeah.
in what way?
I find myself all the time, like just in different moments being like, wow, I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to do this, or I wanted this for so long. It will just kind of hit me at different moments.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but I don't think that necessarily is like a bad thing that you think that.
No.
Or that you feel that way.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. It kind of like brings things into perspective.
Yeah, you kind of always have that perspective
Yeah.
now.
Have you watched I know Andy's really zen. It probably pisses you off sometimes, but have you watched like Eckhart Tolle's Wife and how to detach yourself from obsessive parenting and all of that, and let your kids just be them? You'd probably find those videos pretty awesome. I mentioned that at with our last guest, who was that young mother Ariel, and she watched them and said that she liked them. So yeah, no, that's
I think too, like having lots of kids like I do, you let go of a
for
lot.
sure.
Because you're like, well, I can't be like perfect.
Right.
So like
No shit.
you guys are on your own.
But you're still
Stick together.
Are you done having kids, or are you gonna fucking just pop them out till you die?
I convinced Tio to have one more?
Oh,
I don't know.
Is that the max?
That's our max. That's our max. Yeah.
No. 4?
Well, he has.
Oh, so you have maxed though with 4.
My max is 4.
Your max is 4, so
but
have
he
4.
Has that
He'll
song,
be cool with it.
You 4, I say 2. So like now we're in the middle. So who's
Shit.
You know what? I think if your max is 4, have 4. If it's
Does it get easier the more kids you have?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
You probably learn more. Hey?
Why?
Well, I mean,
I know
number one,
nothing.
like they play together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Number 2, like you don't care as much.
Yeah.
You know,
Like if they fall and hurt their knee, you're not like,
you're
oh
not
my
like,
God.
yeah.
It's like, get up. You're good.
Yeah. Or like, you know, like my friend said to me the other day, because I take my kids swimming all the time. And she's like, how do you take your kids swimming? Like, I can hardly. But I'm like, you know, like, because I'm going to let her fall off the thing because I can't be everywhere all the time. But then she's laughing. She's having a good time. But I think before I would have been more like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And like.
But I think that's like the maturation process of becoming a mother.
Yeah. I know that, like, for sure. When mom had me, I was definitely more like handled that way. Whereas Frank was, you learn stuff. You get a parent, like your kid falls. If it's your 3rd kid, you're not even going over there. You're just like, get up, man.
I guess I was curious because like because I'm like the furthest thing from a parent, you know, like I don't know anything about parenthood. So like I have the idea that more kids means like more stress, more money, more fucking difficult, like a more difficult life. But it seems like the parents who do have big families
just make it work.
Like, but almost make it work better than parents who have smaller families.
I think too, like
that's true. I never thought about that.
Genuinely don't care what people think when they look at me with my kids.
Yeah.
And for sure I cared with Nina.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But
so
now
that like lets go of a lot of like,
I bet. Because now you'll fucking spank them in the grocery store and like
now
not
you
give
just
a shit. Yeah. I think lots of mothers like experience that. Like my mom for sure didn't give a fuck. Like she would discipline us wherever, whenever, and like she wouldn't care if someone tried to tell her something about her parenting. She would just instantly be like, you know, like fuck off. Stop. These are my kids. Yeah. Yeah.
That's my classic mom.
And I've always wondered that because like I think if I was a parent, I'm embarrassed to discipline my dogs when we're walking. You know, if I fucking smack my dog on the ass when we're walking, I like look around to make sure nobody saw it.
I know what you mean. It's an age thing too. Like I think when I got older too, I stopped caring as much.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like a combination of everything.
Yeah, it's because like now I'm 30. Like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Sure, you could have judged
30
me.
30's the magical age.
Sure, you could have judged me when I was 25.
Yeah, and I would have cared then.
Yeah, maybe you would have gave a shit.
It's weird that it's like that because when you're younger, like I feel like people give you more leeway to make mistakes. Like, he's just young. Like,
but they're judging you at the same time, right?
At the same time, you're getting harsh.
Like you're saying, well, you know, she might be kind of like pissy, but she's only 25.
Yeah.
Like, but you know,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, or like they shouldn't be a parent that young, or like whatever, and people, it's like a generational thing. Now people are having kids later, so people are judging people when they're having kids at 20 when realistically 40 years ago, that was completely normal.
Yeah.
Like to have kids at rate, to get married, to have kids rate at 20 and 21. And
even deciding how many kids you want to have. Like now, if I were to have one more, it would be considered a really big family. Whereas my mom came from a family of 7 kids, and like that was really normal back then.
Right.
So it's all.
Yeah, I think it changes with the times.
Imagine that grocery bill for your
man.
parents.
I know, fuck.
You know what? Like
My
you
friend,
too. Like
yeah,
you're
grocery
gonna
bill's
have
gnarly.
4.
I know.
Do you guys Costco?
Oh yeah.
You're literally gonna have, if you have 4 teenagers eating the shit out of your groceries. That's a lot of money.
I know, and cost is like probably the number one factor where we're like, should we do it?
But you just make it work. I find that I've talked to parents about that, and they just say you make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
The good thing is you live in like Canada. For some reason, I feel like you're just always gonna be okay here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
You can have as many worries as you want, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be absolutely fine.
And I mean that's why you do Mamas4Mamas, right? To help out with parents who don't have access to the resources that mothers do here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that like here you have so many supports. There's so many like layette, like things give layettes, right, for babies. Like organizations do that, so there's so many supports.
Yeah.
Whereas there, it's awesome that you're doing Mamas4Mamas, because in a place like Africa where that's not even a thought in people's minds, like, oh, they're having a baby, we don't need.
I actually have a question about like, because when I took this history course on Africa in university, and we had like a whole section devoted to African mothering and how it's different in a lot of ways than mothering in North America. And like, I learned a lot of things in school. And one of them was that like, you can read as much as you want about a place or about a culture or an idea, but you never really know until you actually go there and see it. So since you've been there and since you've seen it and since you've worked in projects there, how is it different in Africa being a mother, and in what ways is it better? In what ways is it worse?
I think I learned a lot about my style of being a mom from the women that I met there. I would say that, well, it's true that I found that the moms there would bring their kids along with them to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And let the kids, kind of get exposed to
All
spheres of life.
Just let them roam, or
what's that?
do they just let them roam?
Well, like, if you're thinking of the babies, like they'll have like their wrap carrier on, or like, and I loved the way that they carried their babies. So I definitely did that with mine, and it was a lifesaver. And just like, okay, so when Nina was a few weeks old, and you don't know anything, and you're first time mom, and they tell you like the nurses or whatever tell you like you're only supposed to feed them however many hours. So I had fed her and then took her to this midwife appointment, and my midwife was from Nigeria. And she started crying, and my midwife was like kind of looking at me, and she's like, "Are you gonna feed her?" And I was like, "Oh no, I just fed her like 2 hours ago." And she was like, "Are you like?" She didn't say that, but she was like, "Just feed her," And then it was kind of like a moment for me, and I was like, "Yeah, obviously," because like, can you imagine like when I was there, no mom would be like looking at her clock,
right? Yeah,
it's
like, oh, my baby's crying, give him the tip.
For sure, there's no there's no formality to being a mother.
But like when you let go of trying to have like that kind of stuff, like for me, it was kind of like it was better because it wasn't as stressful, so I could kind of like just go with the flow and the rhythm, and so I kind of like thought about that.
That's good. There are definitely like North American things. Like, gotta be this, gotta be this, gotta be this. Like, I know you let your kids sleep with you whenever they want, and that's great. That's how you gotta be more. There's so many worries in life about like, I mean, you have to worry about your kid not going to jail.
I know.
And looking both ways when they cross the street. Those are important things. Yeah. Like worrying about them sleeping with you too much or not, or eating at a certain time.
One of the things that I was really curious about it in the differences between African mothering and whatever was, they talked a lot about how like African mothering, it's like a community of mothers.
Sorry, I forgot that point. I was thinking it when you asked the question, and then I forgot. Like, I would definitely say that I noticed that big time, and that was amazing.
So it's a real thing, because I always thought that was so cool how like
moms
everyone was the mother of every kid.
That's cool.
Like here it's I feel like it's the total opposite. Like you don't let other people discipline your kid.
Yeah.
You don't, like it's very.
Yeah. Andy told me that story about when you guys.
Yeah, he's like very much like that. Yeah, and it's
But
a
I
think it's like a dude ego thing.
But he recognizes that it's not necessarily good. Like if someone has to tell your kid, don't do that. That's not bad.
Yeah, and it's
but
not
you get
even
beat,
just
you become protective.
You have
you
to
do,
be self-aware, I think.
Yeah, and you're like you know like, and I know my kid, so when Nina was 2 or 3, she was really sensitive. So if someone she didn't know got after her, I know that she would
get anxiety.
But it's not just about, it would just crush her, like because she would be more sensitive to it from someone else. But it's not just about discipline. It's also about like, one time I was with my girlfriend there and she had a toddler and we were together, and then she went to go home to find her because we were going to go do something together that was unexpected. So I think, she had left her daughter behind, and then she went to go get her. And then she was like, hey, does anyone know where Atta is? Like, oh no, I don't know. I saw her over. And she was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And like I would never not know where Maisie is.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. There it's just like there's almost like an expectation that like one of the other mothers will make sure she's okay.
She's okay. Yeah.
And that's what I always
crazy.
thought was so cool and like such an interesting.
It's actually crazy to think about. Right?
I mean, there's so many factors that come into it too,
sure.
because like even like their housing, they a lot of and like we're being so like generalizing. Like I'm talking about Mozambique here, like
let's
not
speak generally.
Yeah,
we're talking about Mozambique, not all of Africa.
Right.
Whoa.
So, but like in their houses that they had in the village where I lived, they mostly just slept in them. Like they ate outside, like so everything was outside. So you kind of like see your neighbors more, and
all
it's like
the
the temperature is warmer, so like you're not kind of hold up inside like we are in Saskatchewan all the time either. And like there was more people in a smaller space, so like people kind of knew your kids more.
That's actually a good point. Is like even things as simple as climate could be like a factor into the way we just do anything, not just mothering. Like like we're literally shacked up inside, so you become like sort of this unit.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a lot different than if if we were outside every day having barbecues and we knew like Tito over there and fucking like Jade over there and everyone's a friend. Yeah, I think.
But at the same time, North America has this weird thing, like you can't talk to a kid.
Well, yeah, there's also a lot of people who fuck kids here.
I know. Yeah,
it's probably a little bit. It's probably a little different. Like, I mean, I'm sure it exists everywhere, but I think that there's just so many factors. I think that at the end of the day, influence the way we just do things in general, not just parenting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's interesting to like take a look at other cultures and other ways of doing things and apply it to your own sensibilities and the way you do things.
No, you have to.
I think people don't do that enough.
I agree.
Like I think it's just like most people here probably would have just taken the nurse's advice. Yeah. And not pulled out her titty every time their kid was whining.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, and there's so many, I think part of it too, when you work internationally is you have to be really careful. And I've come across this, unfortunately, a lot, where Westerners think that their way is the right way. And even if they don't, even if they say like on their website, like, we don't think that, but like they in their heart feel that. So you can see that when they go and work different places by the way that they're
imposing
you know
kind
what's
of way of doing
it. We say Westerners, but I think it's true for like a lot of everybody in the world. Like even when I lived in Chile, like there was so like everything they thought was better in Chile, like which is true, but like something as small as like a barbecue, they would be like, fucking North Americans do not know how to barbecue.
Yeah.
And it's like it is true. It's definitely true, but like.
So how do Chileans barbecue?
Like, they just fucking literally like put a half of a cow on a barbecue and all the salt in the world.
But is an Argentinian barbecue better?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Like amazing.
Yeah, because you and Andy got married in Chile, so and obviously the kids are half. So how do you? And I know you're from Nova Scotia, so what do you? I know they've been in Nova Scotia a couple times too, and you guys go like what, once a year? Once a year. So beautiful place. I've been there many times. I've been to Cole Harbour as well. That's where you're from. And I know that culture is super important in our family, and definitely important to you. I know that. Do you plan on taking them to Chile maybe sometime and seeing, you know, the other side of the culture? I mean, I know it's easier to fly in Canada, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I saw this quote on Facebook, and it said that parenting was so much easier when I was raising my like hypothetical future kids than like
Yeah, of course.
So like
That
sure.
makes sense.
but like
yeah.
I kind of feel that way in this moment, because in my mind I imagine myself in the future like being able to provide my kids with the opportunities of travel, and especially to
For
Chile,
sure.
and like making Nova Scotia be a big part of their life. Like,
But in reality,
I mean, like,
putting
am
that
I going to
into
be able
practice
to
is-
afford it? Like,
yeah.
Man, it
Three
just comes down to
extra
that.
plane tickets to Chile is
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
money.
seriously, that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
And well, Max could fly for free right
yeah,
now.
I imagine like what we have talked about, what I'm hoping that we end up doing is like one kid at a time.
Yeah, of course. That's pretty cool too. Even if they get to like I mean, so kind of what my grandma did is when we graduated grade 8, she took us on a road trip from Regina all the way to Vancouver into Deep Cove. Just my grandma and me and my grandma and Frank, just to like show us where she was born and raised, show us like where she came from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And all of that. So, and she did it that way, you know, like one at a time. And then, but it was like a special trip
Yeah.
for everyone
Yeah.
because it was like a bonding time too. So if like you are to take Nina there or Andy's to take, like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It'll be a cool time either way to show them their culture. So super cool.
Yeah, and we definitely try to, you know, incorporate like Latino culture and Spanish things and
Yeah, for
food
sure.
and stuff, like as
Yeah.
much as we can.
Yeah, you guys
So,
are always making like,
Yeah. And he's always playing soccer with the girls.
Yeah.
yeah, Nina's pretty good. Eh? So we haven't talked about your other ones much,
Yeah.
Maisie
but mainly it's because obviously the infertility journey.
Yeah, and
but-
she's older, so there's, you know, more to say.
Yeah, and but the other, I think Maisie's my little sweetheart. I just
Aw, she's
love her so much. But I love them all equally the same, of course, because you have to say that when you are a relative.
when they might listen to this in the future.
When they might listen to this one day, and Nina's like, Uncle Tony, you're an asshole. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having
This has
me.
been pretty amazing. Mamas4Mamas, again,
Where can you
Yeah,
find
if you wanna donate.
information?
donations. We want to know because moms are going to listen to this, so you know.
Yeah, it's mamas4mamas.ca, like the number 4.
Mamas
Nice.
for mamas, perfect, and .ca, and then they can just kind of get all the information they need there. And you are
Anything in the future coming with Mamas4Mamas? Any projected projects you guys have going on?
Yeah, we've done a few projects in the past with so we were partnering with another organization called Life for African Mothers to support them in delivering misoprostol, which is an anti-hemorrhage medication.
Okay.
So for women after they give birth, sometimes they start hemorrhaging, and then this medication
wow.
can save their life.
Oh, cool.
So that was a really great project that we were into, but we were also doing scholarships for midwives. And I
Okay.
think we're going to focus more on the scholarship thing because it's really impactful. And so we would give about $2,000 to a master's of midwifery scholarship
holy
student.
shit, cool.
And
You guys
I
are-
mean,
that's
like, that's
great.
like amazing. I mean, like
That's
$2,000, you
unreal.
can raise that here. And
That's
that
so
will be
good.
like,
A lot there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money there. Sorry, I know we just kind of framed to end the podcast, but
Yeah, I know.
but I do have a question. In Africa, when you lived there, you were there for 7 months, and you saw people give birth. Or did you witness anything tragic, or any? Is there a high infant immortality? Like how is what's the death rate with giving birth there? Does that have anything to do with Mamas4Mamas? Like obviously you support everything that has to do with mothering. But I know that that's probably a thing in Africa that moms give birth.
yeah.
in.
So most of my direct experience with birth was actually when I went to Honduras, which I know I forgot to mention.
Oh,
but
cool.
like,
Yeah. No worries.
I went to Honduras after my first daughter was about a year and a half or so, and was working in a public hospital there. And I would say more of the stuff at that time that we were looking at, or that I saw that was really impactful, was like human rights during childbirth. So the way women were treated
Jesus.
was shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that's
can't.
like another area that I'd
So
like
is
to.
South America worse than, or Honduras was worse than Mozambique? Or?
I mean, I saw more in Honduras than I saw there. So, I mean, I guess it's hard to say. But that's also when I said that I was talking to the lady in Mozambique about their maternal health initiative. That's what I spoke to her about, is can we work on the human rights in childbirth, and as it relates to like home birth as well as hospital births, and just kind of like the way that people are treated when they're giving birth.
Yeah.
That's another area that I'd like to focus on in the future.
Yeah, of course. Wow. Crazy. Yeah, no, that's... these are amazing stories. Mamas4Mamas is awesome. There's a lot of organizations that come out nowadays. This is one of the coolest. So it's awesome. It's super important. Mothering is, and it's a way of life and a way of living.
The reason why we're all here.
Yeah, and it's and mothers need support in every which way, whether it be during childbirth, after childbirth, post-traumatic stresses. I mean, intense, right? And what do moms get? What's it called? Postpartum.
Yeah.
So just to have an organization that supports everything with maternal health is super important. So thanks a lot.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Super cool.
Tia Erin.
Oh, nice. Tia Erin.
I love to stay and chat, but my beers are running low.